The planet Vareth had once been full of light. Green fields stretched for miles. Blue rivers cut through golden valleys, and tall crystal towers shimmered beneath twin suns. Now it was only a wasteland. The air was thick with smoke, and the land shook every few hours with explosions. The war between humans and the Tyrell had lasted too long. No one remembered who had started it, only that both sides had lost too much to stop. Ryan was a human soldier stationed on the Eastern Front. He had been fighting on Vareth for 3 years. His uniform was torn, his armor scratched, and his eyes always looked tired. He had lost friends in every battle. He had stopped counting how many. His only goal now was to survive one more day. He sat inside a half-broken bunker watching the horizon through his cracked helmet visor. The sky was a dull red, filled with smoke trails from ships. In the distance, giant machines moved across the plain, some human, some alien. The Tyrell were tall, strong, and fast. They fought with energy weapons that could melt stone. Humans fought with metal, bullets, and fire. Ryan checked his communicator, but there was no signal. His squad had been scattered after a surprise attack. The command center had ordered a retreat, but Ryan had been separated during the chaos. He was alone. He loaded his rifle, strapped his small pack, and started moving toward the hills. His boots crunched on burned soil. Every few steps he saw reminders of battle, broken armor, empty helmets, silent bodies. He tried not to look at the faces. He remembered his friend Liam, who used to say, "When this is over, we'll go back home and forget all this mess." But Liam was gone now. Everyone was gone. Ryan only had his duty left. As he walked, he heard something in the air. A low hum like the sound of an approaching ship. He turned just in time to see a Tyrell dropship breaking through the clouds, heading straight toward him. Missiles followed it, launched by human fighters. The alien ship was hit in the rear. Flames burst from its side, and it crashed into the valley ahead with a thunderous roar. Ryan ducked for cover as debris fell from the sky. The explosion shook the ground. When the smoke cleared, he saw fire rising from the wreck. Against his better judgment, he started moving toward it. Maybe there were survivors. Maybe he could capture one. Or maybe, deep inside, he just wanted to understand why the enemy never gave up. The closer he got, the hotter the air became. The metal frame of the dropship was half buried in the earth. Sparks flew from the broken hull. Ryan raised his rifle, stepping carefully. He could hear movement inside. He pressed his back against the metal and peeked through a hole. Inside the wreck, a tall figure in black armor was moving. It was a Tyrell soldier, but different from the ones he had fought before. The armor looked heavier, more elegant, and the movements were calm and controlled, not wild like the others. The figure was trying to lift a damaged support beam. Ryan pointed his weapon and shouted, "Go stop!" "Don't move!" The alien froze, then turned slowly. Its helmet reflected the firelight, hiding its face completely. For a long second, neither of them moved. Ryan's finger rested on the trigger. He was ready to shoot. Then, through the translator built into his helmet, a soft voice spoke. "You are hurt, human." Ryan blinked in confusion. "What?" "You are injured," the voice repeated. "Your leg. You are bleeding." He looked down and realized his right leg was cut from shrapnel. He had not even noticed. The pain hit him at once, sharp and deep. He tried to steady his weapon, but his strength was fading. The Tyrell took a slow step forward, hands raised, showing no weapon. "Let me help you," the voice said. Ryan's mind screamed to pull the trigger, but something about the tone stopped him. It was not cold. It was not angry. It sounded almost gentle. He lowered his gun slightly. "Why would you help me?" "Because not all battles must end in death." Before Ryan could answer, another explosion shook the wreck. The ship was collapsing. Metal groaned and cracked. The alien moved quickly, grabbed Ryan's arm, and pulled him out just as the roof caved in behind them. They ran through the fire and smoke until they reached the shelter of a rocky ridge. Ryan fell to the ground, gasping for air. The alien knelt beside him and reached into a pack. From it came a small vial filled with glowing blue liquid. She poured some onto his wound. The pain faded instantly. Ryan stared at the glowing gel. "What is that?" "Regenerative serum," she replied. "It will stop the bleeding." "You could have let me die," Ryan said. "I could have," she answered, "but I did not." Her calm tone confused him even more. The humans had painted the Tyrell as monsters, emotionless killers. But this one spoke with patience, almost kindness. "Who are you?" Ryan asked. The alien paused. "Commander Aelra of the Tyrell Defense Force." Ryan recognized the name. Aelra was rumored to be a brilliant tactician, the leader of the last Tyrell stronghold. She was said to be ruthless, yet here she was, saving him. Before he could ask more, Aelra stood and looked toward the horizon. More humans are coming. They will destroy what remains of this place. Ryan followed her gaze. In the distance, human aircraft were flying low, heading toward the crash site. If they found him here with her, they would shoot both of them. Aelra looked down at him. You cannot stay here. Can you walk? He tried to stand. His leg hurt but was healing fast. I think so, she nodded. Then follow me. They moved through narrow paths between rock formations. The sun dipped low, turning the sky orange and purple. Ryan stumbled a few times, but Aelra was always ahead, moving silently like she knew every inch of the land. After a long climb, they reached a wide opening hidden behind a waterfall of glowing blue liquid. Aelra placed her hand on a rock and part of the wall shifted open. Inside was a cave filled with light. Strange plants grew on the walls, their leaves glowing softly. The air was warm and fresh. Ryan looked around, amazed. What is this place? A refuge, Aelra said. Few know of it. You will be safe here. He followed her deeper inside. There were supplies, tools, and old equipment, signs that this was not her first time hiding here. When she turned to face him again, the reflection of the glowing plants danced across her helmet. You should rest, she said. You are not my prisoner. Ryan lowered his rifle. You saved my life. I guess that makes us even. Aelra shook her head. Not even. The war has taken too much. Saving one life does not balance the loss of thousands. Her words stayed in his mind. He sat near the lighted plants, feeling their warmth. For the first time in years, he was not surrounded by fire or death. He watched Aelra move quietly as she arranged supplies. She never turned her back on him fully, but she also showed no fear. He wondered what kind of leader she was, what kind of world the Tyrell had before the war. Maybe, he thought, they had been like humans once, building, dreaming, hoping. As the night came, Ryan leaned against the rock wall and looked at the glowing ceiling. He tried to rest, but his mind kept returning to her voice, the calm way she spoke, the strange peace he felt around her. The war outside still raged, but inside this hidden cave, two enemies sat in silence, unsure of what tomorrow would bring. Ryan did not know yet that this was the moment his life had begun to change. The soft glow of the plants filled the hidden cave with calm light. Ryan had not seen anything so peaceful in years. The blue leaves waved slightly as if breathing, and small drops of shining liquid fell from the roots into a clear pool. The air smelled clean and cool. It was hard to believe that outside, the land was nothing but fire and ruin. Ryan sat near the pool, still holding his rifle, though it felt useless now. Aelra stood a few feet away, removing parts of her armor piece by piece. She moved carefully, setting each plate of metal aside. Her tall frame cast a long shadow on the cave wall. Even though her face was still hidden behind her helmet, her calm voice filled the silence. You should eat, she said, placing a small container beside him. Inside was a gray, jelly-like food. Ryan looked at it and made a face. Is this safe for humans? It will keep you alive, she replied. He took a small bite. It tasted strange but not bad. He had eaten worse in the army camps. So this is what Tyrell eat? No, Aelra said. This is what we use when food is gone. Ryan nodded slowly. You've been hiding here for a while, haven't you? She did not answer. Instead, she picked up a small round device from a table and tapped it. A floating screen appeared in the air, showing the valley outside. Smoke was still rising where the ship had crashed. Ryan watched the display. You lost people in that crash, didn't you? Aelra's voice grew quiet. Yes, they were my soldiers. My friends. I told them to escape. They stayed to protect me. He looked down, feeling a mix of guilt and sorrow. He had lost soldiers too, but he had never thought about how the Tyrell might feel the same pain. I'm sorry, he said. Aelra turned toward him. You are human. You fought us. Why should you be sorry? Because it was never supposed to be like this, Ryan said softly. When we came to Vareth, we were told it was an empty world. No one told us about your people until it was too late. Aelra walked closer and stopped in front of him. Her armor glowed faintly under the cave light. And when you learned we were here, you kept coming, she said. You took our lands, destroyed our cities. You called us enemies. Why? Ryan had no answer. He stared at the ground. Maybe fear. Maybe orders. Maybe both. For a moment neither spoke. The cave was silent except for the sound of water dripping into the pool. Then Elra said, "Fear is a strong weapon. It makes good people do cruel things." Ryan looked up at her. "You don't sound like a soldier who hates humans." "I do not hate," she said simply. "Hate is a chain. My people have been chained for too long." Her words were calm, but Ryan felt the weight in them. She had seen more loss than he could imagine. Hours passed as they talked. Elra told him about the Trell, their cities made of crystal and energy, their songs that filled the skies. She spoke of her mother, who was once queen of their world before humans came. She said that the Tyrell once believed every planet was alive, a living spirit that must be respected. When the humans mined Vareth for crystals, it felt to them like cutting the heart of a living being. Ryan listened carefully. Maybe if our leaders had known, things would be different. Elra shook her head. Leaders never listen until it is too late. Ryan smiled faintly. That's true for humans too. For the first time, Elra gave a small sound that almost seemed like laughter. It was quiet but real. Later, she handed him a small glowing stone. "This will keep you warm," she said. Ryan held it in his hands. It was smooth and pulsing softly like a heartbeat. "What is it?" "A life stone," she said. "It holds energy from the planet. It remembers light and warmth." He stared at it with wonder. "You people know how to care for your world," he said. "And yet we could not protect it," Elra replied with sadness. That night, Ryan could not sleep. He watched her as she sat near the entrance of the cave, looking out into the distance. The soft light touched her armor, and for the first time she did not look like an enemy. She looked like someone who had carried too much weight for too long. He wanted to ask her something, but stayed silent. She seemed lost in her thoughts, maybe remembering her fallen soldiers. The next morning, Ryan woke to find Elra already moving around. She had prepared a small pack with supplies. "We will need to move soon," she said. "Your people will come searching." "Mine?" he asked. "I'm not sure they even know I'm alive." "They will still look," she replied. "Humans never stop searching for what they think belongs to them." Ryan stood and stretched his leg. The wound had healed faster than he expected. "Whatever that blue liquid was, it worked," he said. Elra nodded. "It rebuilds cells. It is old technology from before the war." He followed her to the cave's entrance. The light outside was bright but hazy with smoke. "Where will we go?" he asked. "There is another refuge in the north," she said. "But it is far. We must cross open ground. It will be dangerous." Ryan checked his rifle and sighed. "Dangerous seems to be my new normal." As they walked, the path twisted through rocks and glowing vines. Strange birds flew overhead, leaving trails of light behind them. Ryan looked around with awe. This planet is still beautiful even after all the destruction. "It is trying to survive," Elra said. "Just like us." They moved for hours, avoiding patrol drones and scanners. Elra always knew where to hide, when to wait, and when to move. Ryan was impressed by her skill. She walked with quiet grace, every step calculated. At one point, they stopped to rest under a broken bridge made of crystal beams. The light from the sun passed through the cracks and scattered across the ground in patterns. Ryan sat down, breathing heavily. "How long have you been fighting this war?" he asked. "Too long," Elra said. "I was trained as a commander when I was young. I believed we could defend our home. But after so many years, I wonder if there is anything left worth saving." "There's always something," Ryan said, "even if it's small." She looked at him with her glowing helmet eyes. "And what would you fight for, human?" He thought for a moment. "For peace. For a world where no one has to bury their friends again." Elra was silent for a while. Then she said, "If more humans thought like you, maybe peace would not be a dream." The sound of engines in the sky made them both look up. 3 human ships were flying in formation. Elra grabbed Ryan's arm and pulled him behind a rock. "Do not move," she whispered. The ships passed overhead, scanning the area with red beams. Ryan held his breath. When the light moved away, he finally exhaled. "They almost saw us. They will be back," Elra said. "We must keep moving after dark." As night fell, the twin moons of Vareth rose high. They gave off a pale blue glow that lit the path ahead. The air grew colder and Ryan shivered. Elra noticed and handed him a small cloak. "It is not much, but it will help," she said. "Thanks," he said, wrapping it around his shoulders. "You know, for someone who calls me the enemy, you're very kind." Elra looked ahead. "Kindness is not weakness. My mother used to say even in war, mercy is strength. Ryan smiled faintly. Your mother sounds wise. She was, Elra said softly. Until the war took her too. They continued walking in silence for a while. Ryan could hear the wind moving through the rocks, carrying a faint hum like a song sung by the planet itself. Finally, they reached a high ridge overlooking a wide valley filled with glowing mist. Elra stopped and pointed. There, she said. The northern refuge lies beyond those cliffs. We will rest here until dawn. Ryan sat beside her, watching the two moons rise higher. The light reflected in her armor made her look almost unreal, like a figure from another world. He still could not see her face, but something about her presence felt calm and powerful. He realized that he no longer saw her as just an alien commander. She was something else now, someone he wanted to understand. As he looked out over the quiet valley, Ryan whispered, Maybe this war really can end. Elra turned her head slightly. If we are brave enough to see the truth, then yes. The wind carried her words into the night. For the first time in years, Ryan felt a small spark of hope inside him. And deep within that hidden valley, where two enemies rested side by side under the blue light of Vareth's moons, a new story between human and Tyrell quietly began to unfold. The next morning, the light from the twin suns spread across the valley, painting the rocks gold and silver. Ryan woke up to the sound of soft footsteps. Elra was already standing at the edge of the ridge, scanning the horizon with a small device. Her armor caught the sunlight, making her look like a living statue. He sat up slowly, rubbing his eyes. Do you ever sleep? He asked with a tired smile. I rest when I can, Elra replied without turning. The sky is clear. No patrols for now. We move again soon. Ryan stretched his arms. His leg no longer hurt, and his strength had mostly returned. He stood beside her, looking over the glowing valley. It's strange, he said. It's beautiful here, but everything about this world feels lonely. Elra looked at him for a moment, her glowing visor reflecting his face. Beauty and pain often share the same home, she said. They began moving down the rocky slope. As they walked, Ryan noticed the landscape slowly changing. The ground shimmered faintly under the sunlight. The soil was mixed with tiny crystals that glowed softly when stepped on. Small floating orbs of light drifted near the cliffs. They looked almost alive. What are those? He asked, pointing at one of the floating lights. Elra replied, memory spores. When the planet loses something, it remembers in light. These are the memories of what used to be here. Ryan watched in silence. He saw faint shapes forming in the air, shadows of trees, buildings, maybe people. It was like the planet itself was showing them its past. Vareth doesn't forget, he said quietly. No, Elra said. And neither do we. By noon they reached a small valley filled with ancient ruins. Broken pillars and crystal arches stood half buried in the ground. Strange markings covered the stones. Elra ran her hand over one of the carvings. This was once the Hall of Harmony, she said, a place where Tyrell came to share wisdom. It stood for thousands of years. Ryan could imagine it, tall shining halls, voices singing, peace everywhere. Now it was only dust and silence. He followed her deeper into the ruins. They entered what seemed like a chamber under the earth. The air inside was cool, and faint light still glowed in the walls. In the center stood a cracked stone pedestal, holding a small crystal sphere. Elra picked it up carefully. The sphere flickered and projected moving images into the air. Ryan saw visions, cities floating above the sea, alien children running through gardens of light, tall towers glowing under twin suns. The Tyrell world had been full of life. Then the image changed. The sky turned red, ships appeared, explosions filled the air. The vision of war came like a wound reopened. Ryan looked away, guilt washing over him. I didn't know, he said softly. We were told your people attacked first. Elra shook her head. Your miners came first. They tore into the sacred grounds where our ancestors slept. When we tried to stop them, they called us hostile. We fought to protect what was ours. She placed the crystal back on the pedestal, and now there is almost nothing left to protect. Ryan felt the weight of her words. He wanted to say something, but nothing felt right. Instead, he helped her seal the chamber again. They continued their journey north. The air grew cooler and the land became rocky and uneven. They stopped near a small canyon where a stream of glowing water ran between sharp stones. Elra knelt by the stream and filled 2 containers. Ryan watched her work silently. There was something graceful in every movement she made. Even though her armor looked heavy, she moved as if the world around her followed her rhythm. When she handed him the water, their hands brushed. The brief touch sent a strange warmth through him. He quickly looked away, pretending to focus on his drink. Elra noticed but said nothing. She sat across from him and started repairing a small metal device that looked like a drone. Ryan watched her fingers move with skill and focus. "You're good with machines," he said. Elra nodded. "My people build to survive." "Machines carry our memories. What does that mean?" he asked. She pointed at the device. "Every tool remembers its maker. Every creation tells a story. It is how we live on." Ryan smiled faintly. "Humans are not that different. We build things too, though usually to destroy or control." Elra looked at him with calm eyes behind her helmet. "You are different from most humans I have met." Ryan laughed quietly. "Maybe because I've had enough of war." "You speak with honesty," she said. "That is rare." They sat in silence for a while, listening to the sound of the glowing stream. Ryan finally asked the question that had been sitting in his mind for days. "Elra, why did you save me that day? You could have left me to die in the wreck." Elra paused. Her voice softened. "I saw a soldier, not an enemy. You were hurt, lost, alone. I have seen too many die. I could not let one more fall, even if he was human." Her words stayed with him. Something deep inside him shifted. He had seen enemies as targets all his life, but now he saw one as a soul. Night came quietly. The twin moons rose once again, filling the valley with a calm blue glow. They lit a small campfire made from dried crystal roots that burned without smoke. Ryan sat close to the fire, while Elra stood near the edge of the rocks, her armor reflecting the moons. "You always keep that helmet on," he said softly. "Why?" She turned her head slightly but didn't answer. Ryan waited, then said, "Are you afraid of what I'll see?" "No," Elra said. "But humans have never looked at us without fear. I have grown used to the mask. Maybe I'm not like other humans," Ryan said quietly. Elra was silent for a long time. Then, without a word, she lifted her hands to her helmet. The locks on the sides released with a faint hiss. Slowly, she removed it. Ryan's breath caught in his throat. For the first time, he saw her face. Her skin was silver with faint blue lines that pulsed like light underwater. Her eyes were large and bright, glowing softly with shades of violet and gold. Her features were smooth and calm, more human than he expected, but touched by something ethereal and ancient. She looked at him with quiet curiosity. "Now you see the truth," she said. "We are not the monsters your people describe." Ryan couldn't speak. Her beauty was not like human beauty. It was something pure, something beyond his understanding. She looked both powerful and gentle, like a storm that could heal instead of destroy. "I don't see a monster," he finally said. "I see someone who should never have been part of this war." Elra tilted her head. "And yet here we are." Ryan smiled faintly. "Maybe this is how change begins." For the first time, she smiled too. It was small but real, and it made her seem almost human. They talked late into the night. Elra told him stories about the old Tyrell kings, the cities built inside stars, and the songs they used to sing during peacetimes. Ryan shared stories of Earth, blue oceans, forests, laughter, music, and the taste of rain. Elra listened quietly, her eyes soft with wonder. When he described children playing under the sun, she whispered, "Your world sounds alive." "It is," Ryan said, "but we often forget how lucky we are." Elra looked up at the moons. Perhaps humans and Tyrell are not so different. Both forget until it is too late. Ryan looked at her face in the moonlight. "Maybe together we can remember again." Elra turned to him. "You speak as if peace is still possible." "It is," he said, "if we stop seeing each other as enemies." Her eyes studied him carefully. "You risk much saying that. If your people find you with me, they will call you a traitor. Then I'll wear that name proudly," he said without hesitation, "because I've seen what's right in front of me." Elra held his gaze for a long moment. "You are brave, human, but bravery alone may not be enough." "Maybe not," Ryan said, "but it's a start." The night wind moved through the valley, carrying the faint hum of the planet. The two of them sat together, watching the light shift across the cliffs. For the first time since the war began, Ryan felt no fear, no anger, only peace. And deep within that peace, something new began to grow. He did not fully understand it yet, but it was strong, calm, and real. Elra looked at him once more before putting her helmet down beside her. "Rest," she said. "Tomorrow will test us both." Ryan nodded and leaned back against the rock. As he closed his eyes, he saw her face again in his mind. Silver skin glowing softly, eyes like starlight. He knew then that his heart had changed forever. The silence before the battle felt heavy. The air around the valley was filled with the faint hum of distant ships and the trembling of the ground under hidden engines. Ryan stood near the entrance of the cave with Elra beside him. Her soldiers were preparing weapons made of crystal and metal. Each one moved with quiet discipline, not out of anger, but duty. Ryan could see fear in some of their glowing eyes, though they tried to hide it. Elra's voice was calm. "They are coming," she said. "The human ships are less than 1 hour away." Ryan clenched his fists. He had sent a message to his command the night before. He begged them not to attack, to talk instead. He told them about the truth he had seen, about how the Tyrell were not monsters but people trying to protect their home. But deep inside, he knew his message might not have been enough. Commanders often ignored words of peace when war had already decided their hearts. He looked at Elra. Her silver armor reflected the soft light from the glowing plants inside the cave. She stood tall, but there was sadness in her eyes. She knew what was about to happen, too. "Maybe they will listen," Ryan said quietly. "Maybe they will wait for me to explain." Elra looked at him gently. "Humans fight hard when they are afraid," she said. "And fear has guided this war for too long." Her words felt true. Ryan wanted to deny them, but he couldn't. He had seen it all. The fear in human soldiers' eyes when they faced alien forces. The propaganda that called the Tyrell dangerous beasts. Now he knew the truth, and it burned in his chest like fire. He followed Elra as she walked deeper into the cave. She moved through her people, giving orders and words of strength. Ryan noticed how every Tyrell bowed their head when she passed. They respected her deeply. Even in fear, they trusted her. Ryan stopped when he saw the large table where Elra had spread out a map of the valley. There were red lights marking human positions and blue ones showing Tyrell units. The humans were moving fast, and soon they would surround the valley. Elra turned to him. "If we fight, we may hold them off for a short time," she said. "But it will not stop the destruction. They have too many ships. Too many weapons." Ryan took a deep breath. "Then let me go to them," he said. "Let me stop this before it starts." She stared at him silently. Her glowing eyes studied him as if she wanted to believe. "They will not listen," she said. "You are one soldier. They will call you a traitor." "I have to try," Ryan answered. "If I can talk to them, maybe they will see reason." Elra's hand touched his shoulder. "You have a brave heart, Ryan, but bravery can be a dangerous thing." He smiled faintly. "I learned that from you." For a moment there was silence between them. Then Elra nodded slowly. "Go," she said. "If there is even a small chance to save lives, I cannot stop you." Ryan took a small transmitter and left the cave. He climbed the rocks until he reached the ridge above the valley. There he could see the dark shapes of approaching human dropships cutting through the morning mist. The sight filled him with fear and sadness. His own people were coming to destroy everything he had just begun to understand. He raised the transmitter. "This is Sergeant Ryan Hale," he said into the device. "To command base, this is urgent. Do not attack. I repeat, do not attack. I have made contact with the Tyrell leader. They want peace," Static answered him first. Then a cold voice came through. "Sergeant Hale, you are out of line. Return to your unit at once." "That is an order." Ryan pressed the button harder. "Please listen. They are not what we thought. You're about to kill people who are only defending their home." Another pause. Then the voice replied, sharper now. "You've been compromised, soldier. We're proceeding with the operation." Ryan felt a wave of helpless anger. He shouted into the device, "If you attack, you'll destroy the last chance for peace." But before he could speak again, the signal went dead. The sky above him glowed as human bombers broke through the clouds. The battle had begun. He ran back toward the cave as explosions rocked the ground. Rocks fell from the cliffs and fire spread through the trees. The sound of energy weapons echoed across the valley. When he reached the entrance, Tyrell soldiers were already fighting. Blue light from their weapons met the red glare of human fire. Elra stood at the center of it all, giving orders, her voice calm but strong. "Hold the east line," she commanded. "Protect the wounded. No retreat until all are safe." Ryan joined her side, taking up a fallen blaster. She looked at him surprised but said nothing. He started firing at incoming drones, hitting 2 before they reached the cave. He moved with speed born from desperation. He was not fighting against humans now. He was fighting to protect peace itself. The battle grew louder. Smoke filled the cave. The ground shook as a human missile hit nearby. Debris fell from the ceiling. Elra's soldiers tried to hold their ground, but the enemy was too many. Then a huge explosion struck the entrance, throwing Ryan and Elra back. Dust and light blinded them. When Ryan opened his eyes, he saw Elra pinned under a large piece of rock. He rushed to her side. "Elra!" he shouted. She looked up at him weakly. "You should leave," she said. "They will not stop until everything is gone." Ryan grabbed the rock and pushed with all his strength. It didn't move. He tried again, his muscles shaking. "I'm not leaving you!" he yelled. Elra smiled faintly. "You are stubborn, human." He ignored her words and kept pushing. Finally, with a loud crack, the rock shifted enough for her to crawl free, but she was hurt. Her breathing was slow. Ryan lifted her arm over his shoulder and helped her stand. Outside, the sky was filled with fire. Human ships were closing in from every direction. The valley burned. Ryan looked at the scene and felt a deep pain in his chest. All his words, all his efforts had failed. Then Elra spoke softly. "There is still one thing left." She touched a crystal on her arm. A pulse of blue light spread through the ground. Ryan looked around as the rocks and walls began to glow. "What did you do?" he asked. "I called them," she said. "The last guardians of Vareth. They will protect what remains." From the cliffs came giant stone-like beings covered in shining veins of light. They moved slowly but with power that shook the earth. Human troops stopped firing in confusion. The guardians formed a barrier around the valley, their energy shields blocking the attacks. Ryan watched in awe. The entire valley was now surrounded by a living wall of energy. For a moment, the battle paused. He took the chance and ran toward the nearest communication beacon, dragging Elra with him. He turned it on and shouted into it again. "Ceasefire! Stop the attack!" "You don't understand." This time the reply was uncertain. The human commander's voice came back, hesitant. "What is happening down there?" Ryan pointed at the glowing guardians. "Look at them. They are not your enemy. This planet is alive, and it is fighting back because we brought war to it. End this now." The radio went silent. Then slowly the human ship stopped firing. The sound of battle faded. The smoke began to thin. Elra leaned against Ryan, weak but alive. "You did it," she said softly. He looked at her. "No, we did it." In that moment, surrounded by silence and the soft light of the guardians, Ryan understood what true victory meant. It wasn't about destroying enemies. It was about saving what could still be saved. As the human fleet retreated into the clouds, Ryan stood beside Elra, watching the light fade across the valley. He knew the war might not end today, but something had changed forever. The truth had been seen. Humanity could no longer hide behind lies. And for Ryan, it was no longer about duty or orders. It was about hope. The hope that one human and one alien queen could still save 2 worlds from the darkness of their own fear. The sky over Vareth was calm for the first time in years. The smoke from the battle had faded, leaving the twin suns shining on the valley. The glowing plants reflected the sunlight, making the land look alive again. Ryan stood beside Elra on a small hill overlooking the valley. The Tyrell soldiers were busy repairing structures, cleaning their weapons, and helping the wounded. Human soldiers who had survived were tending to the injured under careful supervision. No one attacked. There was no fear now, only the quiet effort to rebuild and understand. Elra looked at Ryan, her silver skin shining in the light. She had removed her helmet completely, and he could see the calm determination in her eyes. "The war has ended," she said softly. "But the real work begins now." Ryan nodded. "We have a chance to show both our peoples that peace is possible." She smiled faintly. "It will not be easy. There are many who still do not trust each other." "I know," Ryan said, "but if we start now, maybe in time that will change." They walked down to the valley together. The glowing streams reflected their steps, and the soft hum of Vareth's life filled the air. Elra led him to a small gathering of Tyrell elders. Their faces were lined with age, their eyes glowing faintly with wisdom and sorrow. "Ryan Hale," Elra said, introducing him to the council. This human soldier risked everything to protect our people. He has seen the truth. He believes in peace. The elders studied him carefully. One of them, tall and thin, stepped forward. It is rare for a human to understand us so quickly. Your bravery saved lives today, human. Ryan bowed slightly. I only did what was right. I could not watch more die. Another elder nodded. The Tyrell owe you gratitude. Perhaps this is the beginning of a new understanding. Elra placed a hand on Ryan's shoulder. You will help me lead this effort. We cannot do it alone. Ryan looked at her, feeling the weight of responsibility. I will do my best, he said. For your people and for mine. Together they began organizing the survivors. Humans who had fought for months against the Tyrell now worked beside them. They carried supplies, helped repair buildings, and tended to the injured. At first there was tension. Small arguments broke out over supplies or methods, but Ryan and Ailra encouraged patience and communication. Slowly, trust began to form. Ailra taught the humans about Tyrell culture. She showed them the energy crystals that powered the city, the plants that stored light and energy, and the memory spores that preserved the history of Vareth. Ryan helped explain to the Tyrell about human ways, how they built machines, grew crops, and celebrated music and art. As days passed, the valley began to look alive again. Buildings were repaired, the wounded recovered, and gardens grew from the glowing soil. Humans and Tyrell shared stories, meals, and laughter. One evening, Ryan and Ailra stood on a cliff overlooking the valley. The twin moons rose, casting silver light over the land. The air was calm, and the faint hum of Vareth's life was all around them. You have done more than I imagined, Ailra said. This peace, it is fragile, but it feels real. Ryan smiled. It is because we work together. Both our peoples made choices today that will shape tomorrow. Ailra looked at him, her eyes soft. I never expected to feel this, she said quietly. Not after all the years of war, loss, and pain. Ryan's heart beat faster. Feel what? He asked. Her gaze did not leave his. Hope, she said, and something else. Ryan understood. He had felt it too. The bond that had grown over days of trust, understanding, and survival. He stepped closer. I feel it too, he said softly. For a long moment, they simply stood together watching the valley. The glow of the moons touched their faces. There was no armor between them, no barrier of war or misunderstanding. Only two beings from different worlds who had chosen to see the truth in each other. Ailra smiled faintly and touched his hand. Ryan, Before she could finish, a group of humans and Tyrell approached. They were carrying food and supplies, laughing and talking together. The sight warmed their hearts. Peace was no longer an idea. It was real. Ryan and Ailra stepped back, allowing the groups to mingle. They watched as humans taught Tyrell children games, and Tyrell taught humans songs that flowed like light through the air. The valley was alive again, filled with sound, movement, and hope. As the night grew deeper, Ryan and Ailra returned to the cliff. The stars were bright and the moons reflected off the valley like mirrors. You are the queen now, Ryan said softly. Your people will follow you because they trust you. Ailra nodded. Yes, but trust is not enough. I must earn their peace every day, and I must protect it. You won't be alone, Ryan said. I will be here. I will help. Her eyes met his, glowing softly in the moonlight. You risked everything for this, she said. For me, for my people. You could have left, but you stayed. I stayed because it was right, Ryan said, and because I wanted to. Ailra smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. Then perhaps, we have a chance not only to rebuild Vareth, but to create a world where our peoples can live together. Ryan nodded. I believe we can, one step at a time. The next weeks passed quickly. Ryan helped coordinate trade and supplies between the humans and Tyrell. He accompanied Ailra on tours of the rebuilt city, speaking to both communities. Every day, small victories were won. A repaired building, a healed child, a shared meal. Every day, trust grew stronger. One morning, Ailra invited Ryan to the central Crystal Plaza. Humans and Tyrell had gathered there to celebrate the first joint festival. Music and light filled the air, blending technology and magic in harmony. Children ran through the plaza, laughing, chasing beams of glowing energy. Adults watched, smiling, talking, learning from each other. Ailra removed her helmet completely, letting her silver hair glow in the sunlight. She stepped onto the central stage and addressed the crowd. Today we celebrate the end of war and the beginning of a new era. We have learned that understanding is stronger than fear, that cooperation is stronger than destruction. Together, humans and Tyrell can create a future worth living for. The crowd cheered, voices joining in a mix of human shouts and Tyrell hums. Ryan watched her, amazed by her presence. She had survived a war, led her people, and now stood as a symbol of hope. After the festival, Ryan and Elra walked through the city together. "You have done more than anyone could have imagined," Ryan said. Elra looked at him, her eyes soft. "No, we have done it together. You showed both our peoples what is possible." Ryan smiled. "I only followed your example. You showed courage, mercy, and strength every day." They stopped at a high terrace overlooking the valley. The sun set, casting orange and pink light across the land. The city glowed with crystal lights, the streams shimmered, and the people below were working and laughing together. Elra turned to him. "Ryan, do you see this? This is what we fought for, what we dreamed of. It is real now." Ryan looked at her, then at the valley. "It is real," he said. "Because we chose it." Elra reached out, taking his hand. "And because we chose each other," she said. Ryan's heart raced. He had felt it growing from the first moment she removed her helmet. Now he could no longer deny it. "Yes," he whispered. "We chose each other." The moons rose again, casting silver light over the city and the valley. Humans and Tyrell looked up at the sky, feeling hope for the first time in years. Elra smiled at Ryan. "The future will not be easy. There will be challenges." "I know," Ryan said. "But as long as we face them together, nothing is impossible." She nodded. "Together," she said. And so, on the reborn planet of Vareth, humanity and the Tyrell began a new story. It was a story of understanding, courage, and love. One soldier and one alien queen had changed the fate of two peoples. They had proven that even after the darkest wars, hope, peace, and trust could rise stronger than any fear. Ryan and Elra stood side by side, looking out over the valley they had saved. Their hands intertwined, their hearts aligned, and their eyes filled with the light of a new world. For the first time in countless years, Vareth was alive. And for the first time, humans and Tyrell dreamed together of a future where love and cooperation could triumph over war and fear. The twin suns set, the twin moons rose, and the first true day of peace began.